Hello everyone and welcome back to another Great Life Gaming Guide. Well, the Perandus League has come and gone, and us summoners no longer need to worry about nasty packs of Perandus mobs laying waste to our squishy minions. This will make leveling as a summoner much easier. In preparation for the new league, Prophecy, I wanted to make a more refined guide which builds off of many of the lessons I have learned from Perandus. I spent a lot of time practicing leveling as a summoner in hardcore, and there are a number of tips and tricks that go beyond my earlier guide that I wish to share with you. Note that the original guide is still 100% viable. I encourage you to view it first before this one, as all the gem rewards are still mostly the same, and I won't be covering those rewards here again. You can find a link to the original guide in the description. This guide focuses on how to level through raid class as a summoner as quickly and safely as possible. As a result, there is one minor change to our starting skill tree. Instead of taking the ES path at the very beginning, take the mana path. If you are pushing as quickly as you can, it won't take long before you start having mana issues. The extra mana regen you get from taking the mana path early really helps to combat this. It does reduce your survivability a little bit at the very beginning, but without Perandus mobs in the new league, this isn't much of an issue. From there, everything else is the same as before. Take a direct path to mana life and life regeneration. This node is key and you want to get it as soon as possible. Finish up the Death Attunement Wheel. You will notice I don't have the 10% life node here. While life on your minions is certainly important, it isn't nearly as important as life regeneration. Feel free to skip it to free up a skill point to be spent elsewhere. Of course, you can put a point into it now if you wish and respec out of it later. Let's take a look at the early Brutus fight. You will want to be level 8 when you encounter Brutus, so you'll need to get the extra skill point from the Dweller of the Deep quest. This will ensure you have the Lord of the Dead node on the skill tree, giving you an extra zombie, extra minion damage, and life. Support both your Raging Spirits and your zombies with minion damage. You can do this by having a single 3-link or 2 2-links. Either way works depending on the gear you have by the time you reach him. Remember to check Nessa regularly every time you level if you are struggling to find the right links. She will often have a 3-link wand at the very beginning of the game. Just before you start the Brutus fight, try and have 4 zombies that are close to full health. Enter his room and run right past him. This will put you on the opposite side of him from your zombies. Drop Fire Trap on him and start spamming your Raging Spirits. Brutus now has a choice of either facing you and your spam of spirits, or the zombies on the other side. Either way, he will drop like a rock, making this fight a piece of cake. If you wish to maximize the level at which you progress, you will want to be about 3 to 4 levels below the level of the zone. This maximizes the amount of EXP you get without penalty. However, since as a summoner we are killing the Dweller of the Deep and Fairgraves for the extra skill points to get to the minion life regeneration node as quickly as possible, we will be a little bit over leveled by the time we reach Act 2. For this reason, make sure you head left or towards the riverways. This is a level 15 zone and is a great place for some quick EXP. Make your way through the zone while kiting the monsters which come after you. Use Fire Trap and Raging Spirits to take down the packs of mobs. Make sure Raging Spirits is linked with both melee splash and minion damage by this point. Make your way clear across the Western Forest, grabbing all the waypoints as you go, and complete the Way Forward quest by opening the blocked passage on the western end of the zone. Traveling through the riverways and the Western Forest should net you a quick 2 to 3 levels. By the time you complete the Way Forward quest, you should be level 15 or very near to it. As soon as it's done, teleport back to town and head back to Act 1 and talk to Bestel. He will reward you another skill point. If you are level 15, you should now have the minion life and life regeneration node on the skill tree. For the rest of Act 2 and 3, this puts you in easy mode. Your zombies become much tankier. They will still die now and again, particularly in boss fights, but without Perandus mobs hampering your progress, they will survive most of the time. Blast through Act 2 and most of Act 3, skipping as much content as you can to keep you 3 to 4 levels below the zone level. Head right to the docks. Grind a few levels here until you reach level 27, then get all the components you need to open the way to the Ebony Barracks, where you will take on Gravicius. Aim to be close to level 28 when you kill him, as the reward for killing Gravicius is Raised Spectre, and you need to be level 28 to equip it. This is also a good time to take stock of your equipment. See if you can get Bones of Uller and spend some currency to get 4 linked sockets on it. Put your specters in there with minion damage, minion life, and minion speed. Now blast your way through Piety and all the way to Dominus. You may lose a specter or two. Simply replace them with tentacle miscreations in the Lunaris Temple. If you are worried about your specters dying in the Dominus fight, grab some giant gladiators in the Imperial Gardens on your way to the Scepter of God. They will survive the Dominus fight easily. Next, head right to the Crystal Veins of Act 4. Pick up some Pocked Illuminators, which should work very well in the Prophecy League, as they had a bug in Perandus which resulted in them doing less damage than they should. Make sure you grab the waypoint while you are here. Now head back to the Dried Lake and grind a few levels to 35. Push your way to Calm's Stronghold and grab the waypoint here. This should get you to 36. If not, just spend a little more time either on Calm's Stronghold or Dried Lake to get it. Level 36 is key, as you get new flasks at this level. Make sure you do, then head back to Act 3 to do the Labyrinth. The Azzaro Fight can be a little tricky for summoners, depending on which version of him you get. Most of the fights require that you do something before he reaches a certain health threshold. Unfortunately, as a summoner, we don't have precise control of our DPS. For instance, in this encounter, you must click on these elemental statues to deactivate them. If any of the statues are active when he reaches 66% health, he takes the statue and the buff it grants him to the next encounter. Notice here how the statue rises from the ground, activates, and then immediately descends back into the ground since Azzaro hits the health threshold just as it activated. There's no way for me to click on it. The only thing I can recommend here is to keep an eye on his health and convocate before you intend to click on the statue to reduce DPS on him. Having one of these buffs carry over to the next fight isn't too bad, but if you get 2 or 3, you may want to consider starting over, especially if you're playing on hardcore. This next encounter with Azzaro requires that you keep the statue's health from getting to 100%. If any of the statues reach 100%, Azzaro gets that statue's buff, and it carries over to the next encounter. This was initially a real challenge for me until I figured out the trick: summon skeletons. This works absolutely great here, as you can spam them near the location of the statue and they will steadily beat on that statue, keeping its health down. This fight calls for slow but steady DPS spread over a large area, and this is the one thing that Summon Skeletons excels at. Once I figured that out, this fight became a joke. Skeletons for this fight are a win. Holy mackerel. Big time. I think I thought of that. Without these buffs, the final Azzaro encounter is a piece of cake. Take him out and get your Mistress of Sacrifice. Next, head back to Calm's Stronghold and take out Calm. With Mistress of Sacrifice at your disposal, you should have plenty of DPS. Just make sure you have decent fire resistance. From here on out, everything is on easy mode. Finish up Act 4 and grab some Stygian Revenants, then push through all the zones as quickly as you can. Without Perandus mobs, your Revenants should last for most of Cruel. If you do happen to lose some along the way, you can pick up Hairy Bone Crunchers in the old fields of Act 2, Shaggy Monstrosities, also known as Degen Bears, in the caverns, Cinder Elementals in the crematorium, and of course Flame Sentinels. Flame Sentinels will easily get you to Act 4 of Cruel, and you can be 5 or 6 levels below Zone and not have any trouble with Dominus. Grab Stygian Revenants at the end of Act 4 and the pattern repeats itself. Try and get an Arumvarax while leveling through Cruel, and you will be set for resistances, making your journey to Act 4 Merciless nearly as quick as Cruel. You will be at Dried Lake of Merciless in no time. But please, don't do what I did and go AFK right after zoning in. I'm gonna go turn over the laundry. Yes, that was as painful for me to watch as it was for you. See you in Prophecy, everyone.